Okay. Oops. Okay. I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight. There's only like 15 of us. So as you finish up, maybe that's why I turned off that monitor so we could kind of maybe gather over in this area a little bit. It might work out a little better so we're a little more comfortable. And that way, because let's see. Yeah, that'll work. Hey, Kara, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. So that's Kara. Let me mention real quick. Kara Bryan is the chair of our ASQ section. So I'm on the board. I'm the vice chair. And we have Phil Santonzi, who's also on our board, who's our program chair. And so we support Southeast Florida, and that includes Broward, Miami-Dade, and now Palm Beach. And we have 400-ish members, and we have monthly meetings like this but we also invite our students. And now we've had a student branch here at Nova Southeastern since 2014. And each year we have dedicated, and I mean dedicated students that engage and help. We plan. So there's a board, and Franco over here, there you go. Franco is the chair, and Mickey is our vice chair, and Pierre, who's over there getting more food, he's our secretary. And then we have others that are equally as represented. So we've got Adelisa and we've got Margarita that are also work with. So we've got a team of 5. And we would love for it to grow. If anyone has direct interest, just talk to any of us and we'll get you involved. And so we have monthly programming. So in fact, next month, we will have Kim Carruthers coming here to talk about project management. So she's been a project management consultant for basically her whole life, and she's taught project management, and she's like a rock star in project management. So I encourage you all to come. So tonight, we're thrilled to have, we had a great month. Last month, we had a meeting here, and it was about financial services. So Franco brought his operations manager here to try and give students a vision for, okay, maybe you're an accountant. Do you want to be an accountant your whole life? If so, that's cool. But what if you want to manage accountants? Or what if you want to do other things? To try and give them a feel for, think about what your aspirations are, and then figure out ways to get there. Because if you go the classical route of just sitting, going through your firm, they may not see you the way you want to be seen. So you have to be proactive. And I think that was great. And so I'm looking forward to something tonight through the law as one area, but into services in particular. So students get an idea of how I can get engaged, because being a process improvement forte here, we get involved in all sorts of different vocations. But I don't want this to be considered a vocation. It's not like you're a process improvement or you're a lawyer. No. We have people like Bruno who are both. Okay, and that can be important. So I want you to consider the importance of some of the skills that Bruno has in a services firm, of which law is an example. So Timothy's here and Bruno's here, and we're going to kind of kick it off. Kara, is there anything you want to say real quick as a chair from the region? Want to say hi?
Absolutely. So hello, everyone. We have really good news, and that's this year we are offering a student scholarship to 2 students. And it's going to be for $2,000 each. I highly recommend that you apply soon. It's going to close July 20th. So why do I recommend you apply soon? If any of you are graduating soon, it's only for active students. So if you're currently enrolled, you can apply now before your registration's over. So the requirements are very simple. You need to have a GPA of 3.0 or higher. If you don't currently have that experience now, you can use your undergrad GPA. And also write an essay on what does quality mean to me, only 500 words. So it's very simple. I highly recommend that you apply. Dr. Kramer, have you given them the link for the scholarship?
Say that again?
Have you given them the link for the scholarship?
No, I will be posting the scholarship and we'll talk about it when courses start back in May. I'll make you all aware because the decision date is in July. So I'll encourage all the students, both in the program as well as those considering the program and people that know people that do stuff like we do. So it's not just for us, it's for people that are into the quality thing. So it's really awesome. And we, meaning ASQ Local 1510, have made this a sponsor. We've been sponsoring these scholarships for years now, and it's Octavio. It's yeah. So it's been quite a while. So we're really proud of that, and we're happy to be able to support our students. So, okay, well, thank you, Kara, and we'll go ahead and this is being recorded. I should say this, I fills my program. So this is August, excuse me, this is April 24th, 2024. We're here at in the beautiful room here at the Huizinga College on the Nova Southeastern campus. And this is being recorded, and it'll be made available. Not only will we make it available on our servers here, but we'll also bring it onto our YouTube area where the rest of our ASQ stuff is, for people to refer back to. So that makes it good, because I know our law school colleagues are doing finals. They really have it's a challenge to be here all the time. Okay, so without me yapping anymore, I'm going to sort of minimize this side view here so it's not in everyone's way. There we go. And I'll turn it over here.
Okay, you want to be the clicker?
Here's whoever wants to be the clicker, man.
Guy, so.
It's yeah, it's pretty intuitive. Forward, back, doesn't, okay.
You're up.
Well, welcome.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Happy to see you here this evening. I was hoping I would see more students. We'll prepare a presentation a little bit more here towards students to give them a little bit of an idea what Lean is about. And for College of Law students, I think, do we have any tonight? Maybe online. And also explain how you can actually work in the lean industry still having studied law. Okay, so real quick, so
Gotta find them.
my background, you probably noticed I have an accent.
Where'd it go?
Where do you think I'm from? A little wild guess. The Bronx.
It's behind the link. There you go.
I'm actually French. Yes, I know. And
There he
they
is.
front of me all the time. I know. Strangely enough, I was actually born in North Africa, in Morocco.
Oh,
To confuse you more, I was a Spaniard, born in North Africa. Yes, so it's complicated, but that's the way it happened. So that's actually the truth. I left North Africa, Morocco, when I was 17, went to France. In France, I said, if you want to stay here, you need to drop your Spanish nationality, you need to become a French citizen. I said, fine. So became a French citizen, studied 10 years there, and then started to go to my favorite career, that was school teacher. I started as a school teacher, teaching French and Spanish in high schools. Then I started to teach hospitality in a couple of colleges. And then my wife had a brilliant idea to see what was going on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. And we landed here. So we came on vacation. And it so happened that my wife had a job offer and we stayed. Here you are, right? So I started here, continued my career as a teacher in various schools, and very quickly realized that's probably not what I'm gonna do, given all the paperwork I have to do. And decided to change my career and said, okay, now I'm going to be a corporate trainer and a curriculum writer. Sounds fancy. From there, I realized that a particular day I was losing all my trainees very quickly. I would train them, they would go on the production floor, they would work, and next thing I knew, I had another group of trainees. So going at a rate of 40 at a time. And this is really a good lesson to learn, especially the young minds there. When something is bothering you, please investigate, because that could be the beginning of something. And I explain to you why. I decided, took this upon myself to go check what was going on production floor. When I got there, big surprise, nobody that I had trained for was there. Just the last group. And when I started to look how they were working, and I realized that all of a sudden, well, what are they deciding? that is another training material that were given to us by the client. So I changed the training materials. Almost got fired for that one. Without permission. And all of a sudden, things went well with production report. The client flew down, came to see me and said, what did you do? It was horrible before. I said, well, your training materials are right there, the trash can. I changed everything. So there was a couple of seconds pause there, and then all of a sudden he said, well, you know what? We want to give you more accounts, and we want you to get promoted in this company. And then from there, I thought, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be siloed in what I do. I would have trained classes after classes after classes and never gone anywhere. From there, I went naturally to quality assurance. Listen to what people are saying. Then I went to operations. And from one thing to the next, I thought, you know what? What is this weird thing, lean something? And about 14 years ago, I said, 14 years ago, I decided to take the jump. And from there, it's been going really fast. I worked at NOLA. I was in the IT department. I worked with this gentleman. And I don't know if you, are you using Shopton? Yeah. That's me. Are you using Recruit? Yes. Recruit, in administration, yes. That's him. No? Okay. So we worked together, we put everything together, took us about 5 years, right? For Recruit. That was intense, very intense. And we rolled out at the same time SharpClick and a few other things. So we learned very quickly how to deal with easy people and difficult. Because everybody has a different opinion. When you look at the side of MSU, obviously, what is happening? You have some people that like you, and some people that feel threatened, some people that are resistant to change. All of this we have to overcome. So I can tell you, we had the ride of our lives, right? So from there, I left and went to work for a law firm. What did I know about law? Law and Order on TV? Pretty much. And I started as director of process improvement. Very quickly, I realized after my first conversation with an attorney that I was going to get fired. I went to introduce myself to this attorney, and I always remember, I introduced myself. He said, lean, process improvement, how do I start my print job? I am not kidding you. And I said, well, you think twice before you hit the print button. So that started that way. I'll explain to you if you want to get more details, but very quickly, another thing was last year, in May, I got promoted to VP of Legal Operations, and things went wild from there. So that's a little introduction, very long, and I know what he's going to say. Not too much.
So, hello, my name is Tim Shields. I am a partner at Kelly Cronenberg. A little bit about my background. So, for law is a second career for me. Before I decided to go to law school, I was a software developer, and that's where I met Bruno. And I also was here at NSU, worked on some of our large enterprise deployments, Recruit being one of them, the biggest one. I think we had 900 and something users when we went live with that, 5 phases. It was a massive project. But, you know, I had a lot of free time and money, and so I decided to go to law school at night while working during the day. And then when I graduated law school, I had he came into my office and said, hey, do you know anything about Kelly Cronenberg? And I knew a little bit about Kelly Cronenberg because I had a lot of my friends from law school had gone to work there. So he went to Kelly Cronenberg in October, I believe it was.
November 4th.
November 4th. I stopped talking to him in October, so it was, and I had just graduated. I'd been out of law school for a year at that point. I was practicing, I had my own practice, kind of on the side that I was building. And interesting opportunity came up and I ended up going to Kelly Cronenberg. I wear two hats. So they have to fire me twice if they want to get rid of me. So I am a partner. I started our technology practice in intellectual property because of my background. The firm was in dire need of upgrading its enterprise applications. And they just simply did not have anyone who had any experience or capacity to deploy large, complex integrated systems. So met with ownership, we made a deal, and so I am both. I am the director of enterprise applications. We just finished deploying a brand new financial system and a document management system that are all integrated. And we have another phase coming up. And I'm also a practicing attorney. So I have a certain level of credibility when I'm talking to the other attorneys in the firm. And we'll talk more about the challenges of that as we go through. But I am also Lean Six Sigma black belt as well. So just a funny story about that. In my bio, it says that I am that Bruno and I both are Six Sigma black belts. And my mom said, I didn't know you did karate. So yeah, Bruno and I are starting the dojo. So.
The first time I mentioned this to someone that said, I'm okay. I didn't say anything bad. Okay. What's going on? So it's kind of interesting to see the level of people. Now, one thing I'd like to add for what Tim said is when he came to this law firm, we were about 350 attorney and staff members, so not really small, right? And the department, the IT department was comprised of tech support. That's it. Nothing else. Just tech support. Nobody could implement anything. You would talk about implementation and, SDLC and all those things, they will look at you like you're coming from another planet. So when Tim started, quickly he came to see me and said, I know what you're driving. I'm going to take care of all of the tires of your car. I hate you. He still does. So we literally, and this is the part that's interesting in our lives, is we literally went into an environment where people had no idea how to operate. We didn't have an operations department, none, until last year. This company has been in business for 50 years. They have a COO who's a shareholder. As a matter of fact, he's in the board in the College of Law. Wonderful man, but he's the first one to say, I only bring business, I know nothing about operations. Right? So he had nobody under him, nobody, until I came in and we started to staff, and then we realized how big this was. You'll see in one of the particular slide, I will ask you what is operation and where is it in this flow, and we'll see what you say. That's going to be very interesting. Okay, let's go to the first slide. So, lean concept in manufacturing. What do you think this means? If you take a look to the right here, these are the main activities or the main concept that they follow, okay, in manufacturing. Have I worked in the manufacturing business? No, I don't want to. I'll be where I'm at my desk. Thank you. But I can tell you that what they're doing is they basically grab usually a raw product, okay, or semi-finished, and they move it through a line of production. Along the way, there are different points where they're going to start their inventory, right? Then they're going to look at the entire line of production. They're going to use value stream mapping. Who does not know what value stream mapping is? It's okay if you don't know. Okay. We'll show you examples. Value stream mapping is basically a tool we use in Six Sigma to identify the entire flow. Okay. So literally, we use a program I use a program called Microsoft Visio, and I document every single step of the particular process. I document the as is, how we do things now, and when we come up with a solution or close, I document the to be or the final version. Okay, so I'll give you some examples of it later. Yeah. Okay, now what's the difference with the service industry? You notice this is pretty much the same thing as the other slide, but it's a big difference. Big difference is full actions. What is going on is when you work in the plant, for example. What do? We're trying to measure the takt time, which is the time it takes for a product to go through the line based on the request of the customers, hence inventory. In the service industry, that does not exist. We don't have a product stored somewhere, waiting to get into the line of production. So there's a little bit difference here. There are other differences, but this is the main. Okay. Let me see here. Maintaining product value, that's key thing. Now, in a law firm, what do you think the product is? One guess. The case? Just the case.
Well, it will be the service of the lawyer being able to settle the case, right?
Okay, that's one. Okay, we're gonna go over that in a minute, but I can tell you, that's one little tiny piece.
As the lawyer, that is the most important piece.
Well, don't listen to lawyers, okay?
But that does highlight one of our biggest cultural challenges, right? Because in the law firm, the lawyers are the only revenue generators. And they are the most important stakeholder, whether Bruno likes it or not.
No. Well, you would be able, okay, sure, you take care of technology too, and you practice and all of that, show off. But, you know, if you don't have the glue to put this together, what are you offering? Okay, we'll see that in a second. Okay, let's move on to the next slide.
In my technology hat, I say that our product is data.
Nope. Hold on,
Stuck?
how's that?
All right. So this is probably the ugliest slide I've ever prepared. And I did that on purpose. It's just to show you more or less what the flow is of a product through the different areas of the business. So you were saying operations, I'm sorry, the attorneys right here in green, they offer the service, right? Okay, let's take a look at this. Marketing, they give exposure to the firm, right? So they offer value. The business development team negotiates contract. They offer value, but not really interesting at this point. Then operations, usually they set up clients, rates, because attorneys, we have rates. For example, what's your rate, Tim? Top secret.
450.
Okay, so an attorney would be 450, a paralegal would be 300, a legal assistant would be 200, and the activities that fall into the world of the attorney or the paralegal or the legal assistant. And based on that, that's how they bill, right? But nobody would know how much we made until you had operations setting up the rate and the client in the system. System that this gentleman over there built. Right? So he's probably the only one in the firm that knows how things work because he's also an attorney. If you look at the next point, this is when we get the case. Yay, the client came into play. Operations performs a conflict check. Conflict check, not a background check, conflict check. So I want to turn to my colleague attorney. I want to go over an example of conflict check.
Yeah, so in the legal world, before you can represent a client, you have to perform what's called a conflict check. You have to make sure that you and or your firm does not have a conflict of interest in representing that party, the party itself, or if it's oppositional, the people on the other side, right? So if I was representing Walmart, I can't also take a case suing Walmart, right? I can't take a position adverse to my clients. So those are bar ethics requirements. So if you get that wrong, you can get removed from the case, that sort of thing. So that's your legal ethical requirements. And then sometimes you also have business conflicts. So for instance, I represent Walmart, they may not want me representing Target, right? So legally, I'm allowed to represent Target, but my client wouldn't want me to represent one of their competitors. So those are critical because you can create, it can be very significant problem if you get that wrong.
Right. So the bar.
Oh, I'm sorry, just one more thing.
Yes.
It's a firm-wide conflict, right? So even though let's say I'm representing Walmart, Bruno can't sue Walmart, right? So, and he may not know that I represent Walmart. That's why the conflict check has to be done at the firm level.
Right, so when we started, Tim and I, the firm was operating with emails to find out there was a conflict check. So someone would say, hey, we got a new case, they would put the information in the email, they would send that to an attorney who was in Tallahassee, still there, lovely lady. In addition to her work of attorney and managing a unit, she would do the conflict check. But then, how does she do the conflict check? Where does she look? Well, guess what? When I came in, I thought, what's the criteria to reject the case? And I did my research. I survived reading the Bar Association rules. I did 4 times. They're smart enough to say you cannot take a case if there is a conflict. That's it. How do you do it? They don't care. So that opens the door to problems. If we don't do a conflict check or we miss something, we might be taking a case. And then the opposing counsel might say, hey, I know we're conflicting. Now they might turn around and say, you need to drop the case. Now imagine this. You've worked for a month on the case. You've built on the case. You can't continue on the case. You lose all that money. You can't build. So you see the conflict check portion we had to put in place. So Tim and I would build an app. So that we could track those
I
things.
built the app. Just to clarify. Go on, I'm sorry.
Could you remove the Facebook? Yes, we've known each other for 10 years, so we tend to, like, old couples. So let's go back here. So now you have the assigned attorney that works on the case and build the case. Accounts payable, now it's accounting. Okay, when you work on a case, you have to pay for court reporter, for translators and whatnot. These are vendors. So now the accounts payable department needs to add those costs to the bill. It's not only the attorney fees, okay? Then they send a pre-bill to the attorneys, which is another problem we encountered in the firm. They review, it goes back to billing. Now, what do? They send an invoice to the client. Now we pray that the invoice is accurate. Pray along. Then hopefully the client pays. And now Treasury loves the payment. All of this is the product. And I'll explain to you why. If you decide not to put accounts payable and you don't bill the client this, what's going to happen is that the following month, accounts payable is going to go, oh, sorry, forgot to bill that, let's bill it. But if the case is closed, now you're going to say to the client, excuse me, forgot that. That doesn't look good. Especially in our world, we work with insurance defense, we work with big corporations. So if you tell them I forgot something, you look like a clown, pretty much. Here's another one. When I told you that we send the invoice to the client and we pray, why? Because almost everything you do in the legal industry is manual. The attorney gets the bill and what does he do? He just scans through it. 200 line items that they built, within 10 seconds, they're done. So what happens now? We send an invoice to the client that is wrong. We overbill.
Yeah. อันนี้พอได้รับได้รับของจะได้เก็บพอได้ที่เปิด
Oh, what that was sounding. So in the manufacturing world, the product is everything at the line of production, right? In reality, it's not. It's everything that comes into it. Okay, the product has value with the different stages it goes through. Same thing here with the service industry. Okay, even here at NSC, what's the product? The degree, well, that's the end. Okay, what happens during is as important, otherwise you reach the students. Right, so understanding the product needs to be holistic, it cannot be only in your world. If you decided to be an attorney, you want to be an attorney, right? No? No? Well, yes, you got on your shirt. What do you have on your shirt? Okay, there's a business, okay. If you want to be an attorney, fine, be an attorney for the rest of your life. We've had the hardest time, Tim and I, to explain to the business, okay, the attorneys, the ones that say, I know everything. No, you don't know anything. You know law, but you don't know operations. You have no idea. So where do you think operations put their hands in this? You think it's here? Somebody was talking about that.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
And unlike in manufacturing where, right, there's a set process all the way through, when we look at our process, staffing and managing unusual throughputs is an extreme challenge, right? So we staff for the average number of cases we get a day or a month. Well, sometimes we'll have a new client who is dissatisfied with service at another firm and they bring over 400 cases at once, right? Well, how do we ingest that, right? We're staffed to bring in, 40 cases a week, right? So, and the client certainly isn't gonna say, oh, that's fine, you could take 10 weeks to ingest all these cases, right? The conflict check process, sometimes I onboard, and now I don't practice insurance defense, I'm in the intellectual property space, but I work with content creators and all kinds of fun things. And normally I onboard a new client and I put in the conflict check, and if they get it back to me in a day or so, that's fine, right? Because no one's in jail waiting for me to come get them out. And so the process is staffed for 24-hour turnaround. Well, what if someone calls me and they need me on a hearing in 2 hours? Right, so how does the process accommodate those unusual circumstances?
So if you go, hey, you know what, I'm okay, no problem, I don't need operations. Okay, now how are you going to handle that case? The client on the other side is like, I got sued. Okay, I have a deadline. What do you do? So operations really is the glue of everything, but also the part that's important is they try to put in place anything that is an exception that can be costly. Mitigate risk as much as possible. So that's in general. Now, let's say you want to do my job. You're in commercial business, gentlemen over there, yes? Okay. Do you think you could do my job if you had, let's say, 20 years experience in the business industry?
What kind of experience?
Operations, that's operations, it's all of this.
So if you had operations experience in a different industry, you could run operations in any industry.
Correct, but I can tell you that someone who works in manufacturing corporations are gonna have a hard time to adjust to service. Because one of the big things that happen is in manufacturing, you live with numbers. You have statistics that will drive you nuts. You know, the last time I did statistics at this job, about 6 months ago. Because everything is process. You want to do statistics on what the process is broken, you're not gonna measure anything. So going back to being able to do the job I do, attorneys or aspiring attorneys. Those that go into that field, what do they think? I want to be an attorney. Well, guess what? There are new jobs out there in that field that are very surprising. Until very recently, you didn't have that many COOs in the legal industry, except for very large corporations. And these people were struggling, trying to understand what was happening. Why? Because they were good in business, but they were not good to understand the legal field. Now, what you're seeing, and what I've been seeing for the past 8-9 years, is the legal industry seems to be hiring CLOs, chief legal officers. And those people are attorney and they know business. And those guys are making things work because they have both aspects. So big piece of advice, like I was telling you, I was trying to grow in my life. Learn, because one day you might think, hey, you know what? That is interesting, but I don't know how to do it. Prepare yourself. Okay, as an attorney and a business person and an application person, Tim knows everything. I can't have a conversation with him. Okay, all right, I'm trying to go as fast as I can because I know we limited on.
I got you.
Okay.
I'll try to get you. There we go.
All right, you want to open on that one or you want me to?
No, that's yours.
Oh, yes. So, who is 6 Sigma here? Nobody. Your permits here, okay. You heard of the mining process? Okay. Right. So you have your demand process here, right? Or your steps. And project intake at the top. This is what I do, okay? I'm not saying that this is the source of truth or really the way you should operate. This is what I do only, so trick it the way you want to make it work. When I work in a project, the first thing that I do, I work with a gentleman over there. And we try to log projects. You would not imagine the number of projects that we receive on a weekly basis, from the most intelligent one to the dumbest one. So you have the entire firm that needs to share that information with us. I need this here, I need this there. Some people confuse project with task. Can you remove on that PDF the second line? So you see the level of understanding of project management that people have. So Tim is using Planner. Want to discuss Planner?
Yeah, so, if it's depending on the scope of the project, I use Microsoft Project at a high level, but my live and breathe every single day is MS Planner. It might be called Tasks now, but Microsoft Planner is it for planning tools and really task management. It's for me, it's the easiest one to use. We love it. Every day in my stand-ups.
So we have, you all heard of Microsoft Project, right? That's when you're in the project. How do you proceed to choose your projects? What's the priority? So how do you receive them? So what we decided to do is build this product where we get a submission, where you have a form, and it goes into a planner, and it tells us request received. From there, we go to the next stage and we see if it makes sense to do this now or later. And then we go to the next stage, we have now the discovery meeting, and we keep on going in the project until it gets to completion. That helps us also manage the workload of the implementation team. Do you want to have 10 projects at the same time? How do you manage them? You can't, right? Especially when you have a firm where there's only 2 people doing checking the implementation, right? So some of the things we do, we use the project prioritization matrix. Who knows about it? I hope you do. No? Okay. Okay. I have some examples in the slide after this. Basically, you take a quadrant, okay? So you have 4 sections. One is going to be your effort. The other one is going to be your return on investment. Okay, and you count to 20, you put your scale to 20, and scale to 20, and then from there you place your projects. And you'll see when we get to this, we'll have a victim, volunteer come up when we get to that particular slide. All right.
Next slide.
Sure. Project charters. Who has worked on the project charter? Good. Excellent. But guess what? Last time I worked on the project charter was at no. Okay. Now you're gonna tell me, Bruno, how did you do that? You need to set expectation with what you're trying to accomplish, right? Well, it's not complicated. We're still translating in simple English some project management words to our CEO, CFO, and COO. So they don't understand what we sound. So pretty much the only two understanding what's going on. So, whoops.
Oh, go back,
Go back.
backwards. We go the other way, back.
Another one back?
There you go. Okay.
So, if I had to prepare a project charter at Kelly Cronenberg in our firm, I would get fired. Because I would have to spend 3-4 days a week to write a project chart. They would not understand why I'm spending so much time to write a book in their head. Working at Nova, that was a different deal. Because we have departments, we have schools, and that's way more complex. We spent a lot of time, I probably spent 2 months writing that project charter for recruits. Same thing for Sharpling. Trying to understand who I was supposed to involve, who were the subject matter experts, who are the stakeholders, all of those good things. So it's basically a choice that I've made. I don't use project charters that much. Okay. Stakeholder analysis. Yes? No? You've done that last time, I believe, no? Okay. When you don't know a company, you don't know the stakeholders, i.e. when I started at Katie Cronenberg 5 years ago, I was using stakeholder a lot. But this is an internal tool. This is for me to find out how people react to the project. I have also another example here, and we'll find a second victim to come up when we look at that slide. All right. Ooh, Scrum team. Have you ever heard of this? Yes? Yes. Good, yes. What is Scrum?
From Agile.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Don't repeat what I'm gonna say now, okay? I don't want Ray to hit me. We implemented this software at Kelly Cronenberg. And at some point, at the end of the implementation, I was wondering, there was no Scrum meeting. There was no retrospective, nothing like that. The next day, all of a sudden, we had daily meetings. Well, that's too late, we already launched the product. So we're using that to talk about things that we have that are broken, where they add to the process of getting fixed. Okay, so if you want to use Scrum, okay, I have some explanation of those slides later on. If you use Scrum, do it properly, please. Usually Scrum is used when the project is very heavy in technology. Okay. Okay. Brainstorming with the business team. Okay. The business team is basically the ones that are going to receive the product, right? The finished product. Here's what I've seen in some recent implementations. I am going to gather all my stuff. I am IT. I'm going to map out the old system with the new system. And there we go. Now we're live. Did I consult with the business to see what the process was? Did I ask the business, hey, how would you like this process to work with the new system? Have you watched videos? And I know they did. Seeing how we get a product to the finish line. Well, the vast majority was no. So all of a sudden you get a product, you spend time on it, and that product doesn't fit the needs of the business. That's a little bit of a problem. Okay. Anybody heard of Saipo Ishikawa diagram as this process? Yes, sir? Yes. You
No, I study.
know, you said. So what is the Saipo? Okay, I'll give you a little good. I'm gonna help your memory.
You're jogging her memory.
See?
Oh, she forgot it.
So Saipo is really something, a tool that is used, was used, and still used in the manufacturing world. It is also something you can use in service industry. I use that all the time. Basically, the S stands for suppliers of the process, who starts the process. The I stands for input. What's the first thing that happens to trigger the flow? Then you have the general process. Never make it complicated. The O is the output. What is it supposed to come out? The bicycle? What's the product that's supposed to come out? And C, your constituents, everyone who has a stake in the process. Okay, I love to do that. It tells me absolutely everything I need to know. I know. Okay. Ishikawa diagram. I like to say Ishikawa. It feels like it's first one. Ishikawa. Called the effect diagram. Yes. I use that one a little bit. Those two, this one I use when I talk to the business and explain to them what that is. I also talk about Ishikawa diagram, but I don't show it to them because they look at me like, this guy's insane. So pick the tools you want to show to the business when you want to implement something. There are things that are for you. There are things that are for the business. Okay. The as-is process. You ever worked on an as-is process? That's the DSM, right? So you document the process. Here's what I've encountered. When I work on an as-is process and I document all the flow, one step after the other, where do I get this information from? I'm not an attorney. I know not much about accounting. I don't know much about marketing. Where do I get the information? Yeah, from them. Okay, now that's how things get interesting. People discover that they don't know their own process. They don't know how they communicate from one department to another. And then you start to see people talking to each other saying, no, you don't do that. You do it that way. That's when you start sweating. Because it's hard to find out who is right and who is wrong. You have on top of that, when you do shadowing, when you sit with someone to see what they do, those that do the work every day, but not like they're supposed to do it. So when you sit with them, what do you think they're going to show you? Their way or the way they're supposed to do it? They're not going to show it their way. They're going to show what they're supposed to do, i.e. what their boss told them to do. Okay, it's called the Hawthorne effect. People don't realize the same way. They don't react the same way, whether they were alone or with you. They will make up stuff all the time. Okay.
So what would you just not tell them, shadow, you would just, hey, I just want to see. You
Yes.
know, and
Absolutely.
so how to avoid.
So this is where you go to the 5 whys. That's one of the techniques I like to use. Okay, so I do it this way. Oh, really? How come? Well, because I can do that one before this one, okay, all right, and how is it that you cannot do that second step before the first one? And when you see hesitation, they are trying to fool you and they got caught. Okay. I love those things, these are mind games, okay, and you always have to do that with a smile. Right, you've been there, I'm pretty sure, with your implementations. So they see someone big like me sit next to them, okay? And they're okay, show me. Okay, I'm a VP, she's not a VP. What do you think is going to happen? Let's make him happen. Right? So those things you need to vet systematically with other users in the same department. So I'm gonna talk to you, but then I'm gonna get my as-is process from somebody else as well, and then send you off. And then I'm gonna sit with both of you. Unless I made a mistake, I have a process with you that's different with you. I don't know what I missed. Play dumb. Don't play the bad guy. In project management, you're always the dumb guy in the room. That's how people will tell you the information that you need. Okay? Okay. This one rings the bell, FBR. You know that. Failure mode and effect analysis. You look at the process that is being followed, and you ask the person, how is it that this process can fail? Failure mode is the failure, different means, different ways that a process can fail. Anything that can make it fail. Rain, water, someone that walks into the room, absolutely anything. Computer stops working, server stops working. Okay, so this is a tool that I recommend. This will take an entire session to explain and to practice. I recommend that you look into it because it is a fantastic tool. Yes, failure mode and effect analysis. One of my favorites. I never show it to anyone who work. Because I'm being as confused as you are right now. Okay, KPIs. Current KPIs. What's KPI? Come on, your business. Right, okay. So I've seen managers saying, I'm looking at my KPIs every day. Great, put out there. And it's a good 5 minutes for them to show me all the reports. And they have 20, 25. If you're looking at more than 5 every day, then you fail. Because you're spending your time looking at reports instead of taking action. So it's extremely important also to explain to people, and that's the role of someone that does Six Sigma, that does also project management, to explain to people how they can change. The next thing you know, those people, when they're working on a project by themselves, they come running for advice. Not anymore. Because we had this situation, and we still have it at Killy Cronenberg, where you have someone in marketing say, aha, that is broken, I'm gonna fix it. 3 months later. Yeah, 5 minutes. Accounting, what do I know about accounting? I know nothing about accounting, but I know how to ask questions. Okay, so when you go see them and you explain to them all those tools, the next thing you know, they become your best friend. At the beginning, they'll be reluctant, but after that, you become their best friend.
No, well, we have 4 minutes left. So,
Your screen sharing?
will I do Q&A or go to the,
Yeah.
to look at, project, constraints, why projects fail? That's a 3-hour presentation.
I'll give you my contacts because you have some slides that show some tools that I'm using. I'd be more than happy to go on the phone with you on a Zoom session and go over that, how I use those tools. But let's go to the very last one. This is probably one of Tim's
One second.
favorite slides.
Getting there.
Trust me, this is not even a millionth of the iceberg or the tip of the iceberg. Like,
What slide?
Last
that
slide.
field,
Last line?
all the way. See, yeah, put your tools in there. All right. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, project management went too fast.
This one?
All right, want to start and pick something?
Yeah, so, being a software guy, we look at why projects fail or parts of projects fail in particular. No clear vision, that project charter concept, is a formal way to figure out why you're doing something. One of the things I like to remind Bruno is that technology cannot solve management problems.
That's
right?
not true.
So,
Get replaced, man.
so you have to have a clear understanding of what problem you're trying to fix. Right, and then, do you have the right people in the right roles? Do they have the right training? Do you have the right process? And then I can build a tool that supports those things, right? But I can't replace those things. Some of the problems that we face, probably the biggest one that I face in a large enterprise deployment is user change management. Users don't want to change things, even if they are broken, because at least they know how it is broken, right? Like I said, we just deployed this finance system. I replaced a system that has not been in development for 15 years. Right, on technology that no longer exists. And I today still have people saying, hey, I don't know why we had to replace that. Yeah, so, and, when we're looking at projects, so that user change management is extremely difficult. You have to put in the time and effort, the money, the training, just to help those people along, and know that not everyone will come along. Like, you literally will have people leave your company because they don't want to address. I mean, I had 2 people retire. So like, yeah, I'm not gonna learn that, I'm retiring.
And then other
Yeah.
folks say, oh, what is it that you're doing by? Oh, okay.
Literally.
In 2 weeks.
Literally had 2 people retire because they just didn't want to learn the new system. So I mean, they were planning on retiring, but my project certainly helped them pick the date. The other piece to that is, if you have a long project, or if you have a lot of projects, like it's a lot of phases, it's a lot of pieces. And you have to, like, I can push it out. Technically, I can push it all out at once, but the user fatigue, it's too, I have to manage that for them. I have to manage their change. They're like, yeah, it's not a good time. It's never a good time, by the way, just so you know that, for them to bring on something. Staff turnover on long projects, I deal with that, right? On this particular finance project, we had 4 different chief financial officers, or, chief account, at different, right? So imagine I'm trying to map a general ledger account, and, every time a new accounting person comes in, they want me to change the general ledger. First of all, I'm not an accountant. I don't even know what general ledger means. And then like, well, but what about the sub ledgers? I'm like, you lost me at general. So I imagine the sub ones are less. I don't know. But, staff turnover is very difficult to manage, especially early on, because, in any project, right? You have to have some foundational pieces that you put in place that you're building on, especially for a project that's 18, this particular phase was 18 months long, right? You can't have someone come in later and try to change things.
There's one thing, in project management, you might think, hey, I have a business analyst who's gonna get the requirements. But you're gonna get also a project manager. Okay, we're gonna get 5 people to do work on servers and 3 are going to be doing the UI and 2 are gonna do this. Okay, and at the end of the day, you don't have that because you don't have these two. So don't think that everything is going to be beautiful and organized and you have your team, oh, you've been hired, you're virtual process improvement, good, all right, so you're gonna work on the next project, gather your team, there's nobody.
And,
So you have to learn, there's no other way.
you know, and training is, right, and you can present it, and this is, you know, I joke about this at work all the time. You know, this huge project, we had, I don't know how many hours and hours of training, we go live, and the people are like, how do I do this? You know, so, like, you know, because there's, you know, there's a lack of engagement, not like they're not engaged people, but they just don't, you know, they're thinking about their day job, right? You know, this is, you know, training.
So the funniest part is like 3 days before we go live, panic on board.
Yeah.
I do it. That's when he takes his vacation.
But the flip side to that, you know, we stress this in any organization, that any project is, think about the amount of training that we provide for people during the implementation, right? We have trainers, we have webinars. And when you go live and then you hire a new person the next day, they get jacked, right? They're like, yeah, figure it out, right? So, you know, we need to maintain that same commitment to training for the project to be successful for the people who get hired the day after you go live, you know, compared to the people that were there, you know, prior to go live. So you know, but no one wants to spend any more money at that point. Like everyone's tired of the project. They don't want to talk about it anymore. And,
Talk about that,
Yeah.
you work on recruits, 5 years. You have plenty of time to get tired. Especially always the same ones pushing the project through from one college to another, from one department to another. That's still not nightmares.
so, yeah, no, but so when I get tired of pounding people on my software, then I just put on my lawyer hat and just go talk about fun things. So I know we went over on time.
Right.
Any questions?
So you both mentioned how you guys like have to get careers and you like that to in particular. I'm also going to mention that around, when you came to work, did you break back to the journey or how did you kind of go into it?
So, yeah, so when I switched on day one of being a lawyer, you know, that working with technology people was a natural inclination for me. One, I knew that area, right? So I had value to add. And those were the people I knew, right? So, that's how I made that connection and just started growing my practice from there. So, if you're thinking of that, let me know.
Think about things, you know, that people look at all the time. You know, at some point, I knew nothing about computers 20 years ago. At some point, a friend of mine started to give me computers because he was a network engineer. I had 14 computers at my house in the same room, trying to play with them and trying to find viruses around the world. And that, believe it or not, this helps me nowadays. I can bother him. He hates me, but I can bother him with asking silly questions and he still has to respond.
Yeah, but I'm a partner, so. Yeah, a question?
I was just gonna say, it sounds like from the comments you guys told, you know, the biggest challenge is dealing with the people in the business and users.
Yeah. The project is not hard.
To,
The project is never hard. The project is the people. And it starts with the people that come, you say that they have the product for you. They tailor the product that they're gonna show you on their system to make it work, so that you buy it. They are salespeople, they know nothing. And then you have the users.
In a software demonstration is useless unless you know what you're looking for, you know, and so when we were picking this vendor, Bruno and I developed a list of features and business cases that we wanted them to demo, because normally you get on, they're just saying, on a call. We gave them a script, that we want you to cover these things. I had a vendor tell me no, I was like, they're like, well, that's not the way we do demos, I'm like, well, okay. That's fine with me,
Yeah, we even had vendors going, from the initial conversation, yeah, we can meet next week, we'll come over and we'll be 3 or 4 of us, and when you say, okay, we would like to see this. How are you with your schedule of a month or 2? Because now,
But you have to, you have to know what, like, I'm a technology guy, I love technology, but I gotta know what the problem I'm solving, right? So, what's that? Was it House Wonderland, where do I take? You don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter.
oh, yes, sir.
What?
This question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Kara. Do I have to unmute? You're good. Go ahead.
Hi, I have so many questions for you. I too do lean in a law office, so seeing your presentation, it really struck home. I had a question though. So you mentioned that you don't do formalized project charters, yet one of the challenges you have is scope management, scope creep. I mean, everyone has that issue. How do you deal with scope? Do you have official scope management process?
Well, I can tell you because nobody understands anything, as you know, as a project implementation where we at, and I don't mean that in a mean way, they have their own specialties. We usually, Tim and I, we know exactly what needs to happen as regards a final product, because we gather our information formally and informally. And by the time we get started, if someone says, well, can you please add this and add that? The answer is no, the system doesn't do it. Then we'll move along.
Yeah, we
We'll probably put that in the next phase, but not right away. What we want is something good product with good terminology, MVP, MVP, minimum viable product. That's what we want. As quickly as possible, except in this case with the big implementation.
Yeah, that was, yeah. But even that, there was MVP, because there are features that are not yet implemented. There's a question.
So I remember during your speech, you stated that you have to, they have to work with every single branch of the company. So would you say you'd have to have an extensive amount of knowledge about each field in the company, like accounting, everything?
I don't. It's just like I was saying earlier, I know the questions to ask, okay? And usually it's the same technique. How come you do this way, not that way? And what about him and what about her? And for me, what worked great was the fact that I started a process improvement in the firm. They said, Bruno, we don't know what we're doing. We got no idea. We don't know who to talk to. We don't know how the departments communicate. Document, the entire department. From marketing all the way to the end. And when I got to the end and I showed all the defects, they went, okay, now we need to fix them. Who can fix them? Okay, Bruno, go for it. That was it. So being in a position of process improvement is a very, very powerful position that I can tell you. Because you become the person that knows it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
I'm gonna ask 2 questions. The first one is, I knew you guys mentioned you created an app for the consulate. Is this specific to your firm, or is it are you guys opening like to other firms as well, or is it in-house?
Yeah, it's a lightweight in-house app. It could be used externally with some.
You could sell it with no problem.
With some minor.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, with some minor tweaks to it to make it a little more customized.
The thing that you have to remember is extremely dangerous what you do with technology. Like I was saying, I get projects, right? They here marketing, they're down here in accounting, and I work with Tim. And, we brainstorm, say, what do we do? So we started with acquiring the new financial system. Then we had developed an app with Power Apps. Then we had another Power App page called Origination. And then we have a CRM And at the end of the day, as we fixing those things, we realize that we worked efficiently because we tackled a piece of the business, but now we worked a little bit too much inside of it. Now, how do we make everything go flow? If you put the name of the client once, why do you need to put it 50 times after that when it travels through departments? So you have to be very conscious of what you're doing. Now we're at that stage, Tim and I were like, what do we do now? So he points a finger at me. You know, Mr. Ash, you asked me to do that. He pointed the finger back at me. I'm doing it now.
But it doesn't phase me because.
One last question. I'll let these people go home.
Oh, my other question, I was gonna ask, what are some examples of projects that you guys are currently working on, unless it's confidential, but some of the current projects you have?
Okay.
Well, on this,
Probably work on 6 or 7.
I'll say on my side, the two big ones is replacing another, our case management system. To be integrated with our finance system. And then, doing some other integrations with our CRM. To manage the data flow through the system.
Right.
Those are my two big projects.
And you're going to be smiling. I've been working on 6 or 7 projects, but one in particular is extremely painful. It is at the stage of a Microsoft Word document. So the client, onboarding form, what do we ask the client? What do we need? How do we get the bills? How do we pay them? What are the client deadlines? Nobody wants to ask those questions. Everybody wants to get the business. Okay, from big insurance company, but nobody wants to ask the questions. One is calling the client a relationship,
Relationship
thing. Another one
entity.
calls a relationship partner, and they all come up with those words from one unit to another, and the next thing you know, your head is spinning. I've been on this now for what? 3 or 4 months to finalize this thing. Guess what? Friday, I'm opening the bottle of champagne because I'm done. It ends up at the beginning. It's important to listen to what people want because they know their world. But if you say, I want this to be called relationship entity, why? Oh, because it's an entity, and we have a relationship, yeah, but with a client too. With an opposing counsel too. So you challenge all of this, and at the end of the day, once you think you have enough elements, at that time, I have the power to say, I'm not listening to you anymore. Now I get what I need to do. I sit down with my colleague who's an attorney, I vet what I want to do, and that's it. You're happy? Good. You're not happy? That's it. You have your chance. That's it long enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I can be the threat of being crunchy.
All right, well, let's wrap this up, and I really appreciate we all do taking the time. Actually, I appreciate everyone taking the time to come out tonight because it's, away from family and friends and colleagues and stuff.
Please take all those goodies. I don't want to take them back. I have marketing that came in 2 bags. So go ahead. Help yourself.
All right, so remember next month, well, May, like the 3rd or 4th week, we'll be sending out, we'll be on our LinkedIn group, we'll be sending out emails to everyone who's registered here and anyone we can get our hands on. So in the topic will be project management, and it'll be in this room again. So feel free to give us any feedback, even things like the food. It's helpful because you're going to eat it. So it's okay. Well, thank you all. Have a wonderful night and enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Feel free to reach out to me.